everyone, and welcome to the world's most famous podcast. I'm your hostess, Jacqueline Maddison. We are so excited to sit down with Dr. Pamela Johnson, the trailblazing veterinarian whose 30 years of heartfelt service has touched countless lives, four-legged and two-legged alike. As the visionary founder of Veterinary Masterminds, she's on a mission to transform clinics into sanctuaries of empathy, empower pet parents with life-changing knowledge, and lift veterinary teams out of burnout into brilliance. Dr. Pamela Johnson is here to share practical secrets for happier pets, stronger vet teams, and the unbreakable human and animal bond. So grab your furry friend, settle in, and let's celebrate the love that makes life better, one paw at a time. Let's welcome Pamela to the show.
Okay.
All right. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So I'm so glad to have you with us today, Pamela. Welcome to the show. Let's dive right in. Tell us what first drew you to veterinary medicine.
That is a long story. I certainly, since I was walking, I think I wanted to be a veterinarian. My love for animals goes back to when I was I was raised on a farm, and as I mentioned to you earlier, I lost my mother in a car accident when I was very young, so that sort of left me with three brothers and a father, and so I grew up in a very male-oriented household, very competitive, which has ended up helping me in the long run. But that love for nature and animals goes way back. I took a pause from veterinary medicine. I don't know if that was in my bio or not, but I didn't think I had the confidence the first go through in college, and so I backed out. But after I graduated, worked for about a year and a half, I decided I need to go back. I need to follow my dream. And graduate school, for me, it took a little bit longer because I had to go back and take my sciences. But I never regretted going back to school and getting my DVM. And then I was in practice for well, I'm still a veterinarian, but I was in practice for 25 plus years. And
wow.
Privileged to be in the same location where I started, and ultimately became an owner, a partner, and then the primary owner of the business. And it was quite an evolution over time, but it was, I tell people all the time, I never had a day where I didn't love going to work.
Ah, that's beautiful. Well, yeah, when you're living your purpose and pursuing your passion, that, as they say, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and it's so true. And I find it so interesting that you doubted yourself, and I think that we all kind of face that temptation, especially when it comes to our dream, because it always seems bigger than where we are, like more than I can handle. But myself being a Christian, you know, me too, when I sort of got the idea to start the magazine, it was like way beyond my circumstances. And I think God puts a seeming impossible dream on your heart because you kind of have to have faith to go for it and overcome your self-doubt and insecurities. And that's why it's a growth journey to making your dreams come true, which you've done.
That you can either have what I would call a victim mentality or a victor mentality. And there have been a lot of adversity that you're faced with, adversities of all kinds of different crises, right, in life. And I think that in that moment, when you have faith, you understand and can say, okay, I know this isn't where I would like to be, but I also know walk through that door is going to get better. I would like to somehow share with all of your listeners that as bad or as dark as it might look sometimes, it will get better, and you're going to be better for it. You're going to be a better person, a better individual, a better leader, you know, all of those things. So I think that it's a message that I would love for. I have 7 nieces, and I'm working on 2 to 3 grandnieces, and I would like for them all to hear this, that there's going to be bumps in that road, but it'll make you better in life.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, Pamela, you launched Veterinary Masterminds. Tell me more about that.
Speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
when I got towards the end of my career, and it was, I mentioned that it was such a special time in my life, and I had gotten this wonderful team built out. They were completely empowered. Everybody was, working on all cylinders, and I had felt like I had sort of reached the pinnacle, and I wasn't feeling, I think, a combination of challenge and going back to faith, feeling like there's something more, right? There's something more for you to do. I think I need a bigger stage, which, coming from me, I'm an introvert or ambivert, so it says something when that comes out of your mouth. And so I started really praying about it, thinking about it, and God led me to, the burnout rate in my profession is 3 to 5 years. So you spend $250,000, 8 to 10 years in school, and then in 3 years you decide that this is no longer the career for you. And that's foreign to me because it was such an incredible career for me.
Yeah.
And the suicide rate is the highest of any profession in the United States. And,
wow, that's shocking.
Right. And then number 2, it's also and what pet owners should be expecting in their care. And how can we bridge that gap? In other words, if what are the things that I wish you knew before you ever walked into my practice, and how much better that conversation might go if you already understood the basics of certain things, certain premises, certain physiologies and behaviors, then we would be able to have a much more collaborative, engaging, cooperative conversation where the pet owner is a part of making those healthcare decisions. As an example, if you want to see the same doctor every time you go in, you should be able to do that. Yeah. I don't see a different OB/GYN.
Right.
And I think that pet owners should be able to have that relationship with their veterinarian as well. And so it's a combination of things, and I keep honing back on bridging that gap and building a community of trust and collaboration with empathy, compassion, really focusing on the human-animal bond, which I think is very, very powerful. People are just starting to understand the benefits of the human-animal bond and what that means to us as individuals and us as a community, what they teach us. So, it's not simply about, I like to say, lengthening and strengthening the human-animal bond is really my focus.
Well, I think it's a divine gift, and I love what you're doing in terms of your leadership, because for me, whenever I've gone to vets, I've always felt that they really didn't care. They were more about the bottom line. It was always about upselling on products and things like that. But I love that you're more about establishing that trust, because I think when that trust is there, you get a sense that they really care, that you're entrusting your pet's well-being to them, and you're not just dollar signs. I love that. I know it's a business.
You're right. It is a business, but at the same time, it should be something where the pet owner understands all of their options. They understand. There's usually 5 to 6 different options in any one given situation, and you as the pet owner should be given those options. And then we discuss what's best for you, what's best for your circumstances, what's for your finances. and ultimately what's best for your pet, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was very surprised to learn of the high suicide rate, because I think when people operate their business too much without compassion and empathy, you can lose the purpose in it. So I'm not surprised, and I love how you're inspiring veterinarians to incorporate that element of empathy and relationship building, not only between them and the customer, but also with the pet. Because, yeah, that connection it's so beautiful. Like I say, a life without pets or dogs is a life without love. It's an amazing love that and joy. They're just gifts of joy from God. I mean, my pets give me so much love and joy. It's incredible.
Tell my clients is that I feel that your pets are part mine, and that emotional fatigue or compassion fatigue very often can come from, it's in a busy practice. Just to give you perspective, it's not unusual to have to perform at least one euthanasia a day.
Right.
And that can start to wear on veterinarians, the veterinary professionals, so it's one of those things that you have to understand your role. For me, there's a beauty in that role as well, and there's a gift that we're able to give our pets when it's time for them to go, to pass. And I tend to want to believe that they're going to be there when I go to heaven.
Yeah, all our pets go to heaven. The Lord knows how much we love them. So, but yeah, in their last moments of life, to just comfort them and give them peace.
It's always been a privilege for me to be able to share those last moments with a pet owner, because to me, again, their pets are my family. I feel as though they're a part of my family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can pet owners prepare for a stress-free vet visit? What are some things they should do, whether it's for the pet or for themselves?
That's a really good question. There's an organization called Fear Free, and there's another one called Feline Friendly. Both of those are similar, but in terms of one of the best things and the simplest things that I tell people to do is to take the time, especially if you have a young dog or a kitten, take them in for a happy visit. Take them in for fun. Take them in to get a treat, to greet people, and then get hugs and just leave.
That's a great idea.
If someone were coming into my practice for the first time, we might even delay if they're due for vaccines or they need to get blood pulled. We'll wait for a week or so just so that we can have a very happy, pleasant visit so that they get more comfortable with coming in, so that they like, coming into the hospital versus fearing coming into the hospital. And I would always get on the ground with them, sit down with them.
Oh. Now, how can pet owners sort of spot illness early?
You're touching something that's very near and dear to my heart, because very often they do show signs, they do tell us before we recognize that there's a problem.
Right.
And those behaviors are anything from this I could do a lecture on this, but when you look at a change, so let's say you have a dog that is normally very warm and friendly.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not quite spending as much time with you as they used to. Maybe it takes them longer to lie down. Maybe it takes them a little more effort to get up those steps. There's a subtle way that they carry their head that tells you that they're carrying more weight up part of their body versus the back. With cats, very often they'll hesitate. Sometimes people think there's a behavior issue when a cat can no longer get in and out of a litter box. And that's not behavior, it's pain. It just hurts to get in and out of the litter box. So we actually have pain scales, dogs and cats, where people can recognize very, very subtle changes. Because if you think about it, just think about the pack mentality. That's still hardwired in them. And so if they show pain, if they show illness, if they show signs of weakness, that they're going to get kicked out of the pack. Mm-hmm. And they still inherently, genetically are hardwired for that. And so they don't want pain. They don't want to show discomfort. Are actually even better than dogs at that. And so I always tell people, if you trust your heart, if you think something's not quite right, I always tell people I'd much rather you overreact than underreact. Right. Because very often it's when we underreact that something escalates into something much, much more serious. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why I suggest measuring their food, making sure that you're feeding scheduled meals so that you know exactly how much they're eating and how long it takes them to eat. You know, there's just so many little nuances that we can pay attention to. So asking that question, it's a really good question.
Yeah, absolutely. And good to know that you can notice personality or behavior changes that might be indicators. That's great. Now, how do pets mirror their owners' stress levels, and how can owners calm themselves or keep their pets calm?
So that's actually, believe it or not, a component of fear-free and feline-friendly. It's when we're stressed, when we're anxious, they feed off of that. And by sending them cues, whether you're aware of the anxiety level for them will go up. So if a pet owner is nervous about taking their pet in to see their doctor, that's going to escalate the nervousness of the pet. And on the flip side of that, if you have a pet that is nervous or anxious, and encourage that behavior. So they show anxiety about a thunderstorm, and it's almost like the little child, and they're just learning how to walk, and they fall down, and they turn back, and they look at their parents for a reaction. Right. And depending on that reaction, that's how the child is going to react. And I try to explain to people that there's a lot of similarities there, that if you react with anxiety in a situation, or let's say you want to cuddle with them more because you think it's going to help comfort them, it actually is sending them the message that, hey, maybe I should be nervous about this thunderstorm because, they're petting me, they're comforting me. It just basically is a reinforcing behavior, if you will. Does that make sense?
That's so interesting, yeah. So in other words, rather being non-reactive, if you're trying to teach them to be non-reactive to certain stimuli like thunderstorms or noises.
Yeah, the reverse of that, as I mentioned, that human-animal bond is so powerful that there are many proven benefits, but one of them is that pets do lower blood pressure, and that is proven and documented. They are used for PTSD for all situations, and they can dramatically help improve our overall health, not just cardiovascular, but obviously mental, emotional, all of those things. They're the reason that we get up in the morning, right?
They are so precious. Yeah, sometimes if I'm having a stressful moment and my little 4-pound teacup chihuahua will literally come to me and be like stand on my front and be like, Mommy, no, don't do that. Calm down. She calms me, and it's so amazing. They're also so smart and intuitive. I always say, in the Garden of Eden, God took away animals' ability to speak, not to think and feel. So they're still just as present and emotional and intelligent. They just can't formulate words. So it's wonderful.
It is, and it's a good reminder as that communication, it's there. We just have to be prepared, right, to listen for it, if you will, or to hear that, or to pay attention to it, because it is very powerful. There are stories where I've had pets literally save people's lives, and it's just again and again and again. There's just so many stories about the beautiful relationship that we have, with our pets, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Yeah, likewise. Definitely, we mustn't underestimate their intelligence ever.
That's one of the things that I teach through Pet Lovers United is how do we enhance that human-animal bond? How do we make it better? How do we make it stronger? Especially going into their years, there's a difference between senior and geriatric, just like there is in people. And during their senior years, we need to work a little bit harder to maintain their mental, emotional, and their physical health to basically to push out those geriatric years where they become much more challenging. And that window of time, a lot of times people don't recognize it, and we can add up to 2 years to their lives, by doing little things. One is maintaining their body condition at a healthy weight. And two is maintaining oral or dental care. We know that shortens their lifespan if they have issues. You mentioned your dog. I'm certain that you've been through that with yours.
Well, my two dogs, I have two Chihuahuas, I brush their teeth every morning and every night, just like I brush mine. I mean, a friend of mine had a dog who never took care of her dog's teeth. They were so rotted that it ultimately ended up causing an infection that had the dog had to be put down because of the oral infection. So dental hygiene is so important. I mean, if we have to brush our teeth, of course we have to brush their teeth. I do.
It can lead to, heart issues, kidney, liver. There's just so many things. And chronic pain actually facilitates disease, and we know how painful, dental disease is. Even though they don't stop eating, that doesn't mean they're not in pain.
Right.
I'm so proud of you for talking about this, because this is a huge part of what we teach is the importance of the little things and how much they mean to maintaining that longevity and quality of life.
Yes, absolutely. So what is Pet Lovers United?
So Pet Lovers United is an education platform, and our goal, as I mentioned, is to bridge that gap between the veterinarian and the pet owner. So in other words, if I'll give you an example. Not too long, actually it's been several years now, a member had a 4-year-old cat, a malignancy on a rear leg, and their veterinarian said that, we need to amputate this leg, or we need to euthanize your cat. And they also had 2 young daughters. And so they wanted to have a conversation about that, the what ifs. What if we do this? What if we don't do this? What might happen? Those kinds of things. And long story short, they ended up doing the amputation. And like I said, that was about 4 or 5 years ago, and the cat is doing exceptionally well. It wasn't that they didn't get the information from their veterinarian. They just needed to have more, sort of like I said, a collaboration. And so one of the things that we do is we provide a video library of things, everything from A to Z. So should I get a pet? What's the right time to get a pet? What's the right pet for me and my family? Yeah. All the way through to how to recognize pain, how to properly take care of their bodies, their mouths, how to treat cardiomyopathies, you name it. And we have a library, PDF library of the top 10, 15 things. We have ebooks. And then we also have twice a month where I do a live roundtable where we pick a topic. We talk about that for about 30 minutes, and then I open the floor up for questions about whatever anybody wants to ask. So it's an opportunity to get those questions answered, and also you're not stuck with Googling.
Yeah, well, I love this. So because pet owners, we should educate ourselves and take the initiative to be informed as we take on the role and responsibility of caring for the well-being of another creature for its whole life. So how do they become a part of Pet? What's the website?
It's petlovers-united.com, and we're on Facebook as well. But you can go to the website and learn as much as you want. There's a way to contact me through the website as well. But it's, my email is drpam@petlovers-united.com. If anybody wants to email me directly, they're welcome to do that as well. Okay. And we're really trying to create a movement. We want to empower pet owners. We want to educate them and inform them on whatever topics they want to learn about. We're not here to replace your veterinarian. That is not why we're here. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's just the opposite. We want to strengthen that bond. Mm-hmm. I like to say that there's three ends of that leash, right? It's that we can all work together to help lengthen and strengthen that human-animal bond.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the relationship between the pet owner, and the veterinarian should be collaborative, open, honest, and understand. What's one myth about veterinary costs you want busted before we go? Because I think a lot of times people don't open up to their vets because it's more of like, oh, I'm just a dollar sign to them. So how can we break through that?
I think knowing what to ask, knowing what to ask, that, and part of that is, what are my options? Yes. What are my options? And then it's a conversation. So that's one of the things that depend on circumstances. I teach our members, here are the questions that I would ask if I were you when you're going into to talk about problem A, problem B, challenge C, and just have an open, honest conversation with your veterinarian. And I think that transparency and that confidence that it brings can make a huge impact in how those conversations go. Because like I said, there's always options, always. Well, and it should be in a judgment-free zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, though, there should be varying price options, because sometimes, some people can't afford the full spectrum, but the pet still needs treatment. So if there's priced options, too, that would help, because, everyone's in different financial situations. But their pet still needs the care, so at the end of the day, it's all about the pet and saving its life or truly caring about its well-being.
It totally.
Yeah, so what are some final thoughts or something important that you think it needs to be shared with our audience and listeners about veterinarian professions or your veterinary masterminds, or even the Pet Lovers United?
First of all, find a veterinarian that you're comfortable with. Don't go to the closest veterinarian. Find one that, number one, is accredited, that they're an accredited veterinary hospital, which is the AAHA, and go and interview them and ask, can I have a relationship with you? Can I see you every time? Right. And you're going to find out pretty quickly whether or not that's the right connection for you. And I think, there's so many things I could talk about, but if there's one point that I would try to send home, it's making sure that you have the right relationship with your veterinarian.
Yes, that is such a good one. It's such a powerful point for us to end on. Pamela, it's been incredible having you on. You've shared some great insights, and, you know, I'm so excited about the Pet Lovers United. I think that it's something we need, and a lot of pet parents need the education, the community, so that we can take better care of our pets and be just more educated in how to do so. So thank you, I commend you, and I'm looking forward to staying in touch and seeing how Pet Lovers United grows.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
Yes, God bless you.
God bless you.